Okay, we're live.
It might still be in my car. I don't know. No rush. I have to. That's right. That's the best thing you could say. That's exactly right. Okay. Norm and Linda H., are you here? Norm and Linda H. I've been carrying these around for months.
Norm, the Howells? Is that the Howells?
Yes.
They resigned.
Oh, no! Now they do.
They had me do these and then they resigned. Well, they paid me, so. Norm and Linda.
And, yeah. Well, the Norman part is familiar, the Linda isn't.
Whatever. Okay, where's my friend over here? She gets a hat. Oh, wait a minute. Now, he's talking. No.
We're looking to raise money. So people would come and pay money to come. Well, what is the money
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much for coming tonight. We thought about having this outside. It's a good idea, right? Just to review a couple of things, and Brian's going to be basically going over some of our requirements for the block captains, but I'd like to at least get some of the chairs to kind of give an update. Just kind of reflecting a little bit on last year. I know on the fundraiser, and you may explain more about that as far as what we did last year and what we're proposing here coming up this new year. We had our first potluck dinner. I think that went real well, so we'll try to shoot to do that again for next year. Some of the things that we've got coming up besides tonight, and we also would maybe discuss with everybody here. I know we had some people kind of were very not willing to come tonight because of the variants that are going on with COVID. So we need to kind of make sure that we're sensitive to that, but also being able to accomplish the mission that we have as a club. I'd just like to get some feedback right now. What do you feel about? Now, right now we're projected to have a exercise as far as our annual exercise in March. And then next month it's going to be communications. Tentatively right now it is going to be a meeting. But
She can't hear you, Larry.
okay. Right now, the next 3 months we have what we're doing tonight. Secondly, we're going to be doing in February communications. Gary's going to be leading that effort. And then our major exercise is scheduled for March. Now, I know there's some people have concerns, and I'm one of them too, about the COVID. And we can debate a little bit about whether should we go back to doing the Zoom meeting and so forth. So I'd just like to kind of get a little bit of feedback from some of y'all. Are you comfortable coming to the meetings right now?
Yes.
I think we'll go,
Okay.
People who aren't comfortable aren't here.
Are here.
Well, that's true.
No, and I had some people contact me and say that they weren't comfortable to come tonight. So they are part of our group and they are uncomfortable.
Okay. Let's say right now we have a steering committee meeting in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk about that coming up. But again, I want to be sensitive to that. I want those people to be able to feel that they're participating with it. So that's, again, I'm trying to be sensitive to that fact, but also try to meet the goal that we're trying to accomplish. Okay? All right, very well. As far as our treasury right now, we've got a little north of $1,000 right now, and we've had some generous contributions. So we're in financially good shape. The only expenditure I've got concerning The medical team is about a $200 investment to update the bags. Now, we had that exercise a few, yeah, go ahead.
Do we have a treasurer?
Yes,
Who is our treasurer?
Deborah Heights.
Deborah Heights, is she here tonight?
I don't see her.
Okay.
So it's right about 1,000 forward some change right now what we have. So, and the things when we did our medical bag inventory, there were several things that we were short of. One example is that the cold packs we have were all defective. I guess they've been sitting around for several years and so forth, so they didn't work. So we're going to try to get at least 40 of those bags. They're pretty reasonable, they're about $1 a bag. But there's some other things that we're trying to get, including the tourniquets and special surgical scissors and certain type of dressings and clotting and so forth. So I'll be making that purchase here, and then we'll be meeting back with the medical teams probably in the next 4 weeks or so to get that updated. So I feel very good going into the next year. If we ever had any kind of emergency to respond to, we're going to have well-equipped medical teams to do that. Okay. I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Jerry, if you would, and talk a little bit about last year's fundraising and what we're proposing for this year.
Well, last year, we supported the sheriff's ranch, and we had a goal of raising $1,000 for them, and we raised $2,000. So we were quite proud of what happened. We also supported the Leesburg Food Bank, and we also raised $500 for this club. So I think, we really got some good ideas about how to raise money. We had the ice cream truck, the Mystic Ice Cream truck last year. We're passing around some ideas this year because we think we have to do something different. But just so you know, Matt has the ice cream truck coming the first Saturday of every month, I think.
It is.
Except for this month, it's this Saturday.
Yeah.
So just in case you are upset that we're not doing the Mystic Ice Cream truck, you can go anyway, even though it's not our fundraiser. So now we have to pick a new fundraiser for this year, for 2022, and Larry and Brian suggested that the fundraising team, which anybody's welcome to join us, but as of now, the fundraising team is Milton and Chris is newly retired, so we have to congratulate her.
Yay!
And, let's see, Ethel and Carmen and Carolyn and Jeanette and Paul and myself. And, we just had a meeting to come up with 3 possible, charities to support next year. And we came up with the Samaritan Inn, which is downtown Leesburg, and it's a transitional home that provides shelter for women and their children who have been displaced by poverty, abuse, or addiction. Ministers to their needs through personal counseling, spiritual mentoring, financial planning, and parenting classes. Job placement and help locating permanent housing are also provided to ensure their continued stability and future hope. The Salvation Army in Leesburg, which we all know Salvation Army, but they provide emergency financial assistance, emergency food assistance, disaster services, holiday assistance, Pathways of Hope, community breakfast, senior lunch program, after-school program, youth character building, men's and women's ministry, and worship services. And the third one, which I'm going to put in an extra push for because I volunteer for them, and I know firsthand that they're a fabulous organization. Their mission is to positively...
What is the name of it? I'm sorry?
Forward Paths.
Okay, thank you.
Their mission is to provide positively influence at youth risk who are between 17 and 24 years old, and forever revolutionize their path to independence. They provide housing, vouchers for transportation, food, connection to school and work, guidance, and contracts to become productive citizens. I've been volunteering for them for a while, and I'm really impressed with what they do. I am what you call a house mom, and I go and make sure that the kids are living up to their contracts, and we talk about if they miss school or if they miss their job, and it's just really to make them really good citizens, and a lot of them have not had the opportunities that like most of our families have had, where you have consistent parents bringing you up, teaching you right from wrong, all those kinds of things. And the kids are fabulous. The people who work there are very devoted. So my push is for Forward Pass. But those are our three charities. We wanted to do a local Leesburg charity. There are lots of great charities, but we really want to keep it right here. So I think we're going to have a vote, and I guess we'll just put it out through an email. I'm willing to take the answers back to just the active members of Neighbor to Neighbor, as opposed to the whole big group, which is everybody who filled out the data form. A lot of those people, they don't have anything to do with Neighbor to Neighbor. So I think this group of people, and I think it's about 100 people who I had on my mailing list, which pretty much includes everybody who's active at all in Neighbor to Neighbor. So we'll have a vote, put it out for the next 2 weeks. I'll send the 3 possibilities, and you'll send me back which one you choose, and you could look at them up online if you want more information, and that's it. Any questions?
What was the vetting process for these?
Well, I can tell you from the one I experienced, I looked online for them, and actually I went to Forward Pass and I asked them to recommend charities where the money stays with the people who are being helped, and it's local, and they're productive, and they're solid, and they gave me the Samaritan Inn as another option. And of course, we all know Salvation Army, so there was not much research into Salvation Army, but there is a Leesburg or Lake County group which is in Leesburg.
Yeah, it's on 44 or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seen it.
One thing about these, a lot of these charities, sometimes you have maybe some that have a 30% overhead. The overhead for these organizations are pretty low, so their donations are probably in the high 90s. So the money that you give to them is going to help the citizens of this county.
Yeah.
So I think we do have 3 good candidates. So your recommendation is do this on a separate email, or do you want to try to make a
If that's okay, I'm willing to send out an email to the people on my mailing list and receive the responses and track them, and you'll have to trust me that I'm counting them correctly, but I'll have somebody double check me.
Yeah.
Elaine, did you have?
My Quilt Guild has worked closely with both Samaritan Inn and Forward Paths. In fact, we still donate things like paper towels, laundry soap, and things like that to Forward Paths.
Yeah.
And I can't say enough about how wonderful Forward Paths is. The Samaritan Inn is also wonderful.
Yeah.
But if I had, my vote will go to Forward Paths.
Great.
That's my opinion.
She's getting it from
I didn't pay her to say that.
That's funny, to second that, I was thinking to myself, boy, I'd like to see Forward Paths, because I'm really familiar with Forward Paths as well. And it's amazing what they do for these poor kids who had, maybe been kicked out of the house, or they had parents, they didn't have the proper upbringing, or parents are into drugs, and they help these kids get their feet on the ground, and they're a wonderful, wonderful
I think they really
organization.
are.
So
Yeah.
I third that.
And a lot of them have aged out of the foster
Exactly.
system, and when they're
And then
18,
they're out
that's
on the
it.
street.
They're just out, and there's no help. Yes, Janet?
Jerry, would you spell the second word, because people are calling it pass, and it's P-A-T-H.
Yes.
So you want to make sure that you get
P-A-T-H.
pass.
Sorry, I'm not enunciating clearly.
No, it's not you.
But, I had an experience with one of the kids. She had this stuffed animal on her bed, and I said to her, oh, is that something that you drag around with you? And she said to me, it's the only thing I owned.
Oh,
And
oh,
it really highlighted to me what it's like to be a homeless young person. I mean, she had no clothing, she had no furniture, she had that stuffed animal, and that was it. And so it just was it was just a clear picture for me to understand where they've come from. And they're awesome kids for the most part. And I know people who live next to them, we're wary about them in a community and stuff, but they're very, they have contracts, they need to live up to their contracts, and they have released kids from the program if they really won't live up to their contracts. So they hold them accountable, they teach them how to be good citizens, so.
Do they board them?
Yes, as a
They
matter of
live there.
fact, they're, they just got a grant to expand, those tiny houses?
Yeah.
Somebody donated land, I think in Tavares, to expand and set up a little community of tiny houses. So, the places that I go to 3 or 4 different houses right here in Leesburg and check on the kids in rented houses. So, yes.
Jerry, I think that we should also mention that the whole committee is behind Forward Path.
Yeah.
If we didn't have to give 3 for a vote, we would have just said Forward Path, because we did do our vetting and we did study all of these, and many others too, but the committee came down to these 3.
Yeah. So, thank you.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Is there been any discussion on what the fundraisers actually would be for?
Yeah.
We do. We have great ideas for this year. Just you wait, Henry Higgins.
So there's a big billboard that says, "Watch here."
Well, we don't want to give it away till we decided we wanted to get the charity first and then, but we have a couple of things and, just as a little tweak, we have reserved the 4th Sunday of each month for the rest of the year for something.
All right. That's
More
a good
to come.
That's a good teaser.
But Brian, you can write
Yes.
your check anytime you want.
Ice cream and chocolate?
No ice cream. But you know what? Chocolate maybe sometimes.
Bring your own.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, I just reemphasize, I know we really have a heart for the community, even with our disaster planning, and I think we're heads up against any other community in this county in terms of how we are preparing for something we hope never happens. Okay? But we also do a lot of things for the community, and I think it's conducive to our name, neighbor to neighbor, because we do try to reach out not only to the community, but also within our own. So, I mean, if there's things like medical equipment or devices like that, we have those kind of resources to help out our neighbors in Legacy. Okay. Any questions? Okay, Brian, it's your show.
Oh, boy. Hey, Gary. So how many brought your neighbor-to-neighbor ops manual, your operations manual? Raise your hand.
It's on my table, it was under my bag.
Uh-huh.
Do you want me to handle that for you?
Yeah, sure. So, the first thing I want to talk about is where we stand as far as the number of block captains, things like that. We had a nice little, I'm going to take this off. It'll be easier for you guys to hear me. We had a nice little jump shortly after we started sending out emails to the 700 plus people that have supplied their email addresses. We did go through a bit of a, as many of the block captains know, request to see if we could kind of clean up our email database. A lot of the emails, many emails were being rejected. The email boxes weren't valid anymore. Maybe it was the old USA2.net email addresses, things like that. So it just, we were able to clean it up a pretty good amount. The block captains really jumped in there and for the most part did their part and got the new email addresses. So the emails coming from MailChimp, how many get them? How many read? Let's start with how many get them. How many ignore them? Keep your hands up if you ignore them.
I don't read them, who tells me?
Okay, well that's close enough.
I have a letter.
Okay, well it's good that not too many people are just going, oh, it's another one for Brian. So once we started sending out those emails via MailChimp, I started including in those newsletters, if you will, the monthly newsletter, so to speak, kind of a little where we stand on requests for streets when block captains leave, when block captains come on. I put in an automatic field that tells people, let's say, for me, I don't have a block captain on my street. So underneath my name, it says currently no block captain, looking for volunteers. Okay, so I'm advertising for block captains, and it's targeted advertising. So the people that are being affected, you know, there's a little blurb there that says if you don't have a block captain, probably means 15 to 20 homes around you don't have a block captain too. How about thinking about jumping on board this thing and let's drive this train. So it has worked. We've had a good little uptick in new block captains. If you've been reading the MailChimp blast from me, you've kind of been seeing the list kind of growing. Unfortunately, as of December 31st, New Year's Eve, I got a nice little notice from 2 more block captains that have resigned. So, I mean, the numbers go up and then they go back down. And so we're currently at about 34, 35 block captains or block captain teams. Now, we have several husband and wife teams, okay? I count that as one, all right? I count that as a one. I have one that is Olivia, thank you, Olivia Craw, and she has 2 other block captains, Jean Clark, and also, I never get it right, there's another lady that also helps with her. And so, but it's still just one. I consider that a team. So we're at about 34, 35. We were probably closer to about 42 or 43. So it has dropped. Some streets have really been hit hard. Aurora Drive, we're down to only 47. Less than half of the homes now have a block captain, and that's 144 homes on that street. So that one has dropped, and also Stony Brook. Stony Brook has dropped back down again. We've had several people that have left or moved or whatever, and Stony Brook is currently at only 32% of the homes have a block captain. 32%, and that's 104 homes on Stony Brook. So the job is a never-ending. I know ones start to feel good. Okay, we're making progress. We're heading in the right direction. It's like, somebody just cut my legs out right from underneath me, and I'm back to my knees again on it. So it's a roller coaster ride in my house. With people coming on, I go yay, and then people leave, and I go oh. So it's kind of one of those situations. So that's kind of where we stand. I'll continue to try, to sweet talk people into it. I do get an occasional email. If people click on how about thinking about joining us, if they click on that, it sends me an email and it's already got a title and a subject matter. And I respond usually within 24 hours as best I can to any email that comes to me. And so I'll send them an email and kind of give them a couple things to think about. What are the responsibilities for block captains? And I think we all kind of already know what our responsibilities are, door to door, kind of to collect the information. Jeanette has, Jeanette and Paul, they have those forms that are over here by the CAM office door. To the left of the door is the blank ones. Okay, if you're looking at the door that goes into the CAM office, to the left of the door is the blank ones. Once you get those filled out, to the right of the door is the purple bluish folder there, and that's where the completed ones go. Now, Paul and Jeanette, they're troopers, man. They check that folder pretty darn frequently, and they're Johnny on the spot with putting these changes in. And so the thing to do is, if you haven't visited your neighbors in a while, it might not be a bad thing. Molly, are you here tonight? Hey, Molly. I want to say thank you to Molly. She sends me a list of the new residents. She works with Matt in the CAM office, and she gets a list of the new residents, their street address where they come in. She gets those over to me. In fact, she sent me a new list today. I then take that and I matched up with our lot numbers. Remember, our lot number conversion to street address address conversion sheet. I take that sheet and I add the lot numbers onto it and then send it to you guys, usually as an email, not a MailChimp blast, because I just need to get it to the block captains, not to everybody. And so those will go out probably within a day or so. You guys will see an email coming in from me. Let's face it, when you first, I have only lived in this community not even quite 3 years yet. And that first many months, I really wasn't interested in being tied into anything. I didn't know that much about the community. We're still kind of getting used to living in a new home. There are a lot of things happening. New area, to explore, all the other things. So right off the bat, if they move in today, they might not be real candidates for a little bit of time. Now, I'm not saying don't approach anybody on your street. Let's say I'm lot number 125 and I just showed up on this new resident list that Molly has sent out. You come knocking on my door 2 days after I move in, I'm going to be pretty polite, happy to see you, and nod my head and shake my head and laugh a little. And then you're going to go away and I'm going to go, well, maybe somewhere down the road I'll think about it. And so it may not be the most opportune time. It's a good time to stick your foot in the door and just kind of say, hey, bug in the ear. Hey, we've got a disaster planning group here. It's more than just disaster planning, as this evidenced with the charity thing that we're going to be tying ourselves into. But the disaster part of it, we've got an active organization that is coordinated. If we have an emergency where we get bad weather, we are a coordinated organization. It's all well and good that people are going to come out of the woodwork if we get nasty weather come through here and a bunch of roofs get kind of torn up and trees laying down in people's houses and maybe people hurt. It's all well and good that people are willing to help, but there's no coordination with that. It would be chaos to start with. An unorganized effort is just even more chaotic. The thing that really makes us heads and shoulders above, as far as I know, from what Lake County Office of Emergency Management is saying, the fire department is saying, we're the only community in Lake County that has this level of hurricane or disaster preparedness already in place with plans on how we would deal with it. It would be a horrible, horrible event. Best case scenario, horrible. But at least we will have a way to try to help, and we can only do what we can, And so with the radio communication that we are setting up, a tour, by the way, tours possibly if we have enough interest, to the Office of Emergency Management. If you were here for the potluck dinner, Derek Smith, he was from the Office of Emergency Management. They have a facility that's up on, I don't know which floor, it's a 4 or 5 story building, and it is their command center with computer consoles and all kinds of things going on. In the midst of it all, there is a ham operator that we would be in direct contact, and our command center in the kitchen would be our command center, and they're going to use ham radios, and they'll be talking directly to Lake County Office of Emergency Management, trying to bypass down power lines, down telephone services to get hopefully some first responders to us where many other communities are just SOL because they can't make a phone call. They have no way to get to somebody to call for help. So when Hurricane Irma brushed us, 30,000 calls for service, and it was just a brush. It wasn't a direct hit. 30,000 calls for service for the Hurricane Irma incident. So the first responders, even if you can get them, they're probably going to be tied up, could be hours, days, before we're going to really see real help, possibly. I'm not trying to be scary or anything, plan for the worst, hope for the best, right? That's how we operate. So the mission is real. It's hard to keep the enthusiasm going. It's easy enough to go, well, we haven't done anything other than go to some meetings and, pretend that we've got a disaster, a yearly drill. It might be hard to keep up that enthusiasm, that drive to stay in the game. But I'm hoping that there are enough of us in this community, not just this room. Obviously, you guys are here, right? And the ones that sent emails to Jerry, they sent them to me too about not coming tonight because of concerns over COVID. And I understand those concerns, you know, and I'm right there. My wife is immunodeficient like nobody's business. And she told me tonight, you damn well wear that mask. You know, if you come home and you get me sick, you know what could happen to me. So it's forefront on my mind, you know. This is no joking matter still. I wish this COVID would just wrap up and move on. I'm tired of it. We're all tired of it. But we got to take it real, you know. So if you haven't been, you know, here we are in the midst of COVID, you know. It wiped us out in a way from being able to maybe visit. For the new block captains that have come on board, might have been a little hesitant to go knock on a door. The person on the other side of the door might have been a little hesitant about answering the door. You know, they don't necessarily want to be in that less than 6 foot zone with somebody. But if you have not had a chance to go around and maybe revisit with some of these people, first off, we've got new residents that are coming in. I get emails every so often when I send out these email blasts. I kind of buckle my seatbelt because I'm going to get an influx of emails coming into me where people are saying, we moved a year ago, we moved a year ago, we moved a year ago. Because it's old information. We don't necessarily know exactly what's been happening with every house that we might be responsible for. Especially Carolyn. You've got 54 houses, I believe, something like that. Some horribly high number. I wish I could find some help for you. I really, really do. I feel bad, I really do. But if we have a chance, maybe knock on those doors. Maybe reintroduce yourself. If you're new block captains, you know, it's not a bad thing to knock on that door and say, hey, there's a new sheriff in town, we're it. You know? And a lot of people, you know, they may not want to fill out that form at all. Zero. There's some of those people. Yep, I'm sure we come across them, everybody. Yeah, there's definitely that. I see that. Jeanette and Paul, they know well enough, man. There's a lot of people that say that type of thing.
But we log that in the database
So that
so that
we're
we
aware.
do know that they were approached and they declined to participate.
Okay, I did not know that.
If you tell us, we'll put it in there.
Yeah, so I might suggest, I'm not a block captain that's going door to door. I don't have that kind of responsibility. That's not my slot to fly necessarily. I will help every way that I can. But I don't have any houses, you know. I've kind of got enough on my plate in a way. There may be some better suggestions. But my suggestion is when they politely say, well, why don't you just give me the form? My suggestion is to say, super, here's the form, and then I'll be back tomorrow to pick it up. It puts a time stamp on it. Now, Jeanette's shaking her head no, I don't know.
Well, no, I just went to my new neighbors and took them the form because we don't have a block captain, but I do that anyway. I do it all the places that I know somebody is new, and they were very appreciative, but I did not tell her, and I will not go back in a day, but I plan to go back in 2 weeks, which is a reasonable amount of time, and just bring her something else. I took them a welcome gift, and I'll come back with something else and just see if they have the form, because I haven't received it yet in my box.
Okay, well, you might adjust the time frame that I'm suggesting to be matching with what
Well, it gives them
Kelly's,
time
or
to
Jeanette's
prepare.
saying.
Yeah, they're trying to move in, you know?
Yep, I do hear you. Again, the day that they're moving in, or a month after they move in, or 6 months after they move in, they may not be interested in making that commitment quite yet, but if you stick with it, you probably will get positive results. It might take a visit or two. Don't get discouraged. You know, human nature is what human nature is. And, you know, for me, I'm a bit of a procrastinator. I don't want to say it too loudly out loud. But I could be a procrastinator, and if I could push it off to 2 weeks, well, hell, I'm going to push it off to 3 then. That's my level of procrastination. But if you come, on my door a couple weeks later, a month later, whatever period of time you feel is good, or maybe amicable when you talk to them, they go, well, we're going to be gone for a week, but can you come back in 2 weeks? You go, sure, that type of thing. So flexibility is key. Thank you, Jeanette. I appreciate that. But it is maybe a good time to recommit to just kind of reaching back out to those neighbors. Let them see your face. They kind of know your names. If they have an email address that's already on with us, they're getting the MailChimp blast. I don't use last names. I don't necessarily have permission from everybody to say what your first and your last name is, but I do put a first name, last initial. So, and that was because of a conversation I had with a resident at Poolside one day. She says, I sure wish I knew who my block captain was. And that it kind of stuck in my head a little bit. So when I started doing the MailChimp thing, I thought, well, how can I tie this in? Kind of keep people's identities, everybody may not want their first and last name out there, but their first name, it's kind of common names typically. I think I can get away with that. So at least they might know your first name. And when you say, hi, I'm John, or I'm Brian, your block captain, they go, oh yeah, how you been? Good to see you. So it's a good time to maybe rethink going and revisiting and just kind of checking in with those neighbors. And so I beat that horse probably dead enough at this point. The other part that we do is we respond if we have some sort of weather event. Everybody knows, I think by now, you've received text messages on rare occasion. I try not to ever, use the information I have unless it's related directly to neighbor. And so the text messages, what's the first thing that would happen? You'd receive what? A text message from what? All right, alerting you that we've got a possible situation. A hurricane is, recently there was strong winds. It didn't reach the level of where, the threat moved south of us. And in fact, they did have a tornado, at least one tornado south of Orlando. So it was a weather event. We're just fortunate that it moved south of us, right? Feel bad for those folks, but glad it didn't hit us. So text message, first thing that would be coming from me would be the, hey, heads up, typically heads up. Second one would be a little more, if it's really a super threat, we're kind of going into activation mode here. I'll be getting with Gary, Larry, and starting to get ready to go if we need to be ready to put the command center in operation. And if we send the activate, the first thing we should be doing, if you have your manual here, is going to your stationary radio location. Why do I ask you to go to your stationary radio location? It's because the radio people are supposed to do a quick drive-through of their section. So if you're in section number 1, my section, one of the radio people, at least one of the radio people, are supposed to drive around section number 1, take a look, see, do we have a bunch of trees down? Do we have some roof damage? Do we have anything worse than that? And they would then radio that in to Gary at the command center, saying in section number 1 we have a lot of damage. Well, over in Stony Brook, section number 5, let's say, I think there are 5.
Yep.
Back in Stony Brook, their radio people report, we've got absolutely nothing here. It's just some tree litter hanging on the ground. There's nothing going on. I don't see any trees down. I don't see any roofs missing. Everything appears to be pretty decent back here. Well, we would probably ask those people in section 5 if they would please help us to go to section 1. If you are at the stationary radio location, we are in radio contact with you right then. You're not already going door to door, right? So if you're at the radio station, we send that radio message, let's say to section 5, saying, hey, if there's anybody there that can go to section 1, please go there. Section 5, you don't have anything, go home. You know, if you're not going to help, you know, if you're not able to help out in Section 1, you know, have a good one. And so that's why we're asking, go to the radio location, your stationary radio location. On your block captain sheets, if you have any of them that are relatively recent, I'm saying within maybe the last year, I think that's about when I added your section number on your sheet that has all the lists of your homes. There's a section there that says what section you're in, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And it gives the location of your stationary radio location. For those of you that go, you know, I'm not certain where my radio location is, it is on your block captain sheet. If your sheet does not have that on there, just shoot me an email, and I'll send you a new update, the most recent update I have, which Jeanette and Paul, they just sent me the newest update just a couple days ago. Yes.
Just a clarification, when you're telling us to go to that location, this is after the storm or whatever it is has stopped or let up or what?
Okay, good. That's a good point. That's a good point. So we only operate, number one, during daylight hours. No nighttime operations, correct? Yes? Everybody move your head in the vertical
Yes,
up-down
yes.
motions? Okay. No nighttime operations. So we would not activate until, you know, twilight, let's say. You know, this time of the year, that's what, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, something like that? Whenever that is. So shortly before sunrise, if we had an event overnight, then probably first thing in the morning, you're going to see the text come out to activate. When I say activate, the three things that activate us would be daylight operations, winds under 30 miles per hour, and rain less than, I think it's three quarters of an inch an hour, which on a weather map would show as a light green to maybe slightly darker green on the weather map. You know, if you're watching TV, I don't know about you guys, we got all of our TVs on, you know, internet going, the whole 9 yards typically when a hurricane's coming at us. So those would be the three qualifiers: daylight, 30 miles per hour wind, thank you, I heard it, and also the 3/4 inch, you know, rain per hour. So that message would then be blasted out at that point. You know, we're activating, and I would probably include the reminder, go to your stationary radio location, that type of thing. And then once we hear back from all the radio people at that point, then it would be starting the door-to-door. You know, knock on the door, see if your folks are there. If they don't answer the door, what are the options?
Ask a neighbor.
Ask a neighbor, very good. Ask a neighbor, hey, do you know by any chance did they evacuate in front of this hurricane? You know, yeah, they went up to Georgia. Okay, means you don't need to check the house. Now, how do we signify? Because they're not going to have a help or okay sign in their windows, right? They're gone. They left. They probably had, last thing on their mind was to stick a silly sign up in the front window. So we had the green cards, right?
Green card.
Right.
Postcards.
That's old news. It's changed now. We are going with, we've seen like it's crime scene type tape. It's like a stretchy yellow tape that says caution police or something on it, and they put it around the area, right? Well, I can't remember who it was, said the problem with that they could foresee is if somebody has a screened front area, okay, the entryway into the house, my house, that's where my street-facing windows are, is right there by that entranceway. If I put up a screen porch and that porch is locked, you're not getting in. And so you really can't put a green thing there, and it could be raining, and the wind could be blowing, and so there goes the card, you know, off it goes, you know, we find them laying on the ground, oh great, which house did that we now have that stretchy tape. I've ordered a test supply to see if this would be a good viable option. And so we should be, I will try to remember to bring that this next meeting when we get together next month, if we get together in person. Try to bring the rolls of tape that I have. And they're just small, but there's 150 yards on each one of them. So all you need to do would be to tie it on their front light post, if it is available, or on the door handle to the garage. Yes, go ahead.
What about caution tape?
It's basically a caution tape. It's lime green, fluorescent lime green. And we don't need a whole lot of it. All we need is just a little bit tied up on that lamp post, a little bit tied up on the door, on the door handle of the garage, preferably. That usually faces the street and is easily visible, rather than the front door, which could be down the side and tucked around, and there's shrubs and you can't see it from the street. The whole idea is being able to see it from the street.
Wouldn't you want a uniform place to put that, like the garage door? I think that would be the uniform place, because if they're going down the street looking, it'd be easier to look at garage doors than.
That could be, except if they, let's say they have those screen door things. You know how people put the screens up?
That has a knob on it. Must have something.
I always have knobs on them.
Ours doesn't
My
have a
screen.
The reason I say that is because when you start looking.
No, but the ones that are electric.
I don't see no garage door.
But we have a lamp post.
Right. Or the
All right, if we can hold down the conversation, please.
The reason I
Thank
say,
you.
the reason I say a uniform place is because if you don't see it on the garage door, you don't see it on the lamp post, you don't see it on the door, well, where is it, It should be a uniform place to put it.
Not every house has a lamp post.
That's true.
Some builders did. I know my Pringle home, Pringle was using the light posts, but I don't think a lot of the other builders were.
I would suggest a uniform place to put the thing. If not a stake, in the ground.
Yeah, we don't want everyone to be carrying around. I mean, you're going to be carrying around enough with you as it is. So the fewer things you got to remember to take out the door. I'll be stuffing my pants, right? I'll be looking like this going out the door with everything. So I'm thinking that maybe the garage door. Everyone's got a garage in our community. Nobody has a porch, and that's usually right out there by the street, right? The voice's face is right there, and there's no shrubbery to block the vision of it.
Unless somebody can think of something other that everybody has a uniform.
Garage doors, raise your hand.
That and lamppost. Garage
Well,
doors.
the thing is, we're trying to make a uniform spot. The lamp post, I don't know, because again, some homes don't have a lamp
But
post.
the electric garage screens, you cannot tie anything to.
Right.
They go up.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Hang on one second, Christine. Larry, go ahead.
What I would recommend, we come up with 3 areas. It may be the garage door, for those that are acceptable. If they have a lamp post, that would be second. And the third might be, most of the houses, I think, have the outdoor lights that hang.
Our house
Coach lights?
Yeah.
What do they call them, coach lights?
Coach lights.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
but
not
you
every
have a,
house
you
has
have a lamp post.
I have a lamp post, but no coach
So
light.
I think if you come up with the 3, and that's the only 3 you're looking for, most likely, it makes sense because you don't have to remember 15 different places.
Yay, good idea, Larry.
Larry, some of us who are vertically challenged might not be able to reach the coach lights.
Give me a call, I'll come in there and pick you up so you can put it up here.
Me too.
Okay, so, moving along, any other thoughts on the green tape thing?
What does it mean if you have the green tape up?
It means the house has been checked, because there's no help or okay sign. And if there's no sign in the window, we're supposed to stop, right? Because it could be that people are hurt, injured inside, can't actually physically make it to the door. They're laying on the floor, help me, I can't get up.
Well, then I'll hold my door.
So that's why we have those. We, again, not going to be breaking through windows, not going to be kicking in doors, Starsky and Hutch style. That is neighbor to neighbor's stance on that. Other people may feel that in a time of true emergency, there may be very little that can stop them from getting in the house to render it. But be very, very careful, guys. Safety is number one. If the roof's gone, we got to be concerned about gas. We got to be concerned about electrical. Those can be damaged. If the roof has damage, a portion of the roof is missing, certainly if a wall happened to come down, you could be dealing with cracked gas lines up in the attic. So gas is very, very explosive. I think I've said it before. We all may recall that a few years back, I want to say, 8, 10 years ago, there were over 100 homes that blew up in a community because there was a gas leak. It had sparked and it started blowing homes up one after the other. So, if you're smelling strong gas, the best thing you can do is, number one, try to get everybody to evacuate, get out of their homes and get out of the area. Maybe a pain in the butt. You may get people that say, I'm not leaving, it's okay. Well, they're on their own at that point. Your safety, get the hell out of Dodge yourselves, too. Okay? Don't fool around. If you are concerned, you're uncertain of the safety of the issue, err on the side of your safety. Okay? We don't want two people to be in a bad way when there was only one previously.
True story. My neighbor, somebody was on the side of her house and smelled gas, and it turned out that one of the pipes they had put in had rusted. And they had to get somebody there quickly to, just a good thing, and that was in this community.
That is pretty serious. I don't know how many people were on the Zoom presentation with the City of Leesburg, the gas department lady. If you see dead grass unexpectedly happening, let's say, from the street area to your house, and you see a patch where everything is just dying, it could be a gas leak, okay? It can cause the grass to die. I don't know how that happens, but I guess that's one of the indicators. If you happen to see some standing water and you're seeing bubbles coming up out of the ground, that's another good indication. Could be gas. You probably are going to smell the rotten eggs. That's the odorant that they put in. Natural gas is odorless, so they put an odor in there, the rotten egg smell, so that we have, a clue that we've got a situation going on and something needs to be done. Do not paint your gas meter, your gas line coming out of the ground. You need to be careful when we have the weed eater people come through. Ours, we're fortunate. Ours is in the garden area that goes around the house. Our meter sits up by the garage, and it's protected. They're not in there weed whacking with that weed whacker. And every time they come, cut your grass, they're doing this. That little weed whacker thing is hitting, And so inspect that, take a good look at it. Look at for possible corrosion, kind of be aware of what's going on. Do we all have any idea how to shut off the gas? If we were to go to my house and you needed to shut off my gas on the side of my garage, is everybody maybe a little fuzzy on how you would do that? Raise your hand. Just raise your hand.
She did tell us we should not.
Not to touch it.
Hold on. During normal, but during an emergency, we are authorized.
Well, I happen to have my kid, I got one of those.
You got one of those wrenches.
Yeah.
You have to have a good size wrench.
He said not to nice size wrenches.
Right. So one of the reasons you don't want to paint that is you want to be able to rotate, if necessary, you want to be able to rotate that valve, right? The valve looks a little bit like, kind of like that. It's kind of like rounded on both ends and flat across the top, so to speak. Or it could be kind of a square, okay? And with an adjustable wrench is usually, I would recommend that. And maybe one that has a little bit of a lever on there, right, a little longer handle, so you got some leverage to give it a good tweak. When it's in line with the pipe, it's on. When it's turned perpendicular to the pipe, the gas is off. So on, off. Now, if you got the little square, I'm not sure how you figure on, off.
It should be in line with the pipe, so you turn it, I believe it'd be counterclockwise.
Okay, all right, I can go with that. So, shut the gas off. Do we know, anyone have any issues on if you need to throw the power because the roof is torn off and we gotta be worried about electricity as well? Does anyone have, raise your hand if you're a little concerned about the power part. Okay. All right, now, here's a good point. If you feel unsure or unsafe, we don't do it, right?
Right.
That's the way we operate. If you feel unsure or unsafe, don't put your life at risk. Don't put your life at risk. Yeah, go ahead, Jerry.
I'm not sure, but I think if you do turn off the gas, you do not turn it back.
Right.
Do not turn it back on.
And that's exactly correct.
Don't touch it up to that.
You call them.
The company will come and turn it on.
So, for those of you who are not uncomfortable about electricity, now, Carl Apple, you know, his thing was you aren't sure if the ground could be electrified. You know, I don't know if anyone caught, and this was a lightning strike in a soccer field. 2 teams on the field. I don't know how many people that is at a time, but probably what, 15, 20, 30 people maybe? I don't know. I don't know how many would be on 2 teams, like professional soccer. 25. A fair amount of people on the field, right? Half of them were killed. Lightning strike hit the ground. It penetrated and spread out from the lightning strike. The ones that had metal cleats, all were electrocuted. They were killed. The ones that had the rubber cleats, none of them were hurt. Okay, because rubber is an insulator. So don't wear metal spikes when you're going around and doing these, right? I don't know, is that what I'm supposed to learn from that? But lightning, electricity does flow through the ground. The ground is a conductor of electricity, especially if the grass is wet. We just had a hurricane. We've got 20 inches of water on the ground, for gosh sake. Of course the water's wet, or the ground is wet. So you got to be cautious about this. If you don't feel safe, don't do it. Okay, your life is not worth that, and it isn't necessarily going to make the situation any better for people who evacuated. Right? You see the roof blowing off. You're worried about gas explosions in the neighborhood. You're trying to shut that off to protect the community. You're trying to shut the electricity off because you don't want the house to light up on fire in the middle of all this. Well, in the meantime, they left and they went to Georgia to spend a few days at their son's house because they're not going to be here for that hurricane. And so, and now you're laying on the ground zapped and fried. Your hair's all frizzly.
We're just lucky we don't have the overhead.
Oh yeah. I'm so glad we have buried utilities there. I am definitely. So safety is job one. Always keep that in your mind. Stay alert. Conditions change. Things may be good at the first instance, but things could get worse. You don't know. Keep aware. Take a buddy if you can in with you. If you enter a house that has damage, take a buddy in with you, somebody, whether it's a next door neighbor, because you know, the likelihood of 2 people being hurt might not necessarily be that super high, depending upon the situation. But use all your senses, your sight, your smell. And I don't know about taste. I'm probably not going to go taste something, but you know, use your senses and just stay aware of your surroundings. Situational awareness, yes. Okay, so there are 2, basically on all of our homes, there are 2 panels. There's the panel that's inside your garage. When you open that door, you're going to see all the circuit breakers for all the different circuits. You know, it's got one for that, you know, for half a dozen power outlets. It's got 1 or 2 for the lights. So that's inside the garage. That doesn't, that's not necessarily the quickest way to kill it. The quickest way to kill it is on the side of the house. It's gonna be one side or the other. On my house, it's not on the garage where the electricity is. The gas is on by my garage, but the electricity is about, we got our front porch area, and then electric panel is around the side, down the wall, probably about 8-10 feet. It's a big panel. It's about like that. Big panel, and it's got one door on it. And there is a little lever that when it is in the locked position or the closed position, there's a little lever that's real thin